A second passport is the strongest element in your plan B and much more than just a backup. And while everyone talks about Caribbean passports with Schengen access, most overlook the current insider tip among all second passports, namely the passport from Sierra Leone. It is totally underestimated and could even be better for you than a Caribbean passport. You might be just as surprised as I am. With the Sierra Leone passport, something is possible that is not possible with any other passport obtained through investment or donation. And from my perspective, that's absolutely amazing. What is generally possible with the second passport and what is not, and what the difference is, by the way, from the parallel existing golden visa program of Sierra Leone, which is often confused. That's what this video is about. We advise on long-term residence permits, golden visas in more than 50 countries, and also on more than 12 citizenship programs that you can acquire in the short term, up to a diplomatic passport. But in this video, I will show you why Sierra Leone is currently my first choice. And in the end, I will also explain in which cases or for whom one passport or another might be the better option. So be sure to stay tuned until the end. Before I show you what I consider the surprising advantages of the Sierra Leone passport, let me explain again, at least from my perspective, why a second passport is so important and why it is more than just a backup. Imagine waking up in the morning and your home country has introduced new travel restrictions overnight. Or worse, political tensions make it impossible to leave the country, whether it's Germany, Austria, Switzerland, or any other Schengen country where you might currently live. And this is exactly where your Plan B comes into play. A second passport provides maximum freedom with travel restrictions, while others struggle with tourist visas. The German passport is actually unbeatable, but what happens if Germany itself is the problem? I mean, if we think about the travel restrictions from a few years ago, then you have a good German passport and can, of course, drive to the border with the German passport. And purely from a legal standpoint, there's nothing against the fact that you could have left Germany or Austria or Switzerland, depending on where you currently live with the German, Austrian, or Swiss passport. But it was or is checked with travel restrictions whether you are even allowed to continue traveling and enter the other country. Because when there are travel restrictions, tourist visas are often no longer issued in other countries on arrival, for example, or at embassies. And now it's good if you have your prepared Plan B, meaning a passport that identifies you as a citizen of another country and thus guarantees you unrestricted and permanent entry into another country. Here you will see in the end, is the Sierra Leone passport unique? Completely different from many other passports. It offers a whole range of advantages, yes, and generally, if we briefly go through the advantages, generally of such a second passport, in any case, as mentioned, a second passport means permanent residence, work permit in strategically important regions for you. And indeed, either in a country like, for example, the Pacific passports in Nauru or Vanuatu, then you are allowed to stay indefinitely in that one country. You are allowed to work there. You are allowed to start a company there. You are allowed to acquire real estate there, buy land, and so on and so forth. So that is definitely what a passport provides. As mentioned, in most cases, you would still leave with the German passport, but as mentioned, leaving always has two elements. So I'm allowed to leave. The passport is valid. Yes, you entered the Schengen area with the passport at some point, so you are allowed to leave again. But are you allowed to continue? Are we allowed to let you go there? Can you be transported by, for example, an airline? The airlines do not transport anyone who is not allowed to enter another country due to travel restrictions, for example. Permanent residency is very important. You are no longer dependent on a single country. So if, for example, your German passport becomes invalid, you can't renew it right now, or it has been lost, no new passport will be issued. For example, one might say, wait a minute, you are still under 60 and we have a case of tension. You would first need to provide a letter of exemption from military service, essentially proving that you have been discharged or deferred. And that would then be the responsibility of the Bundeswehr Career Center, for example, possibly again in the future. And the question is, do you get that within a certain period during which you might still be able to leave Germany without any problems? And that's just one thing. Well, I don't necessarily want to harp on just this one topic. For many, it's not the main reason to be interested in a second passport, but for some, it is a very, very important one. With the second passport, you simply have maximum flexibility in times of crisis. You are in another country where you then reside with the second passport. You are no longer staying as a German citizen. That means you are no longer dependent on services from the German embassy, for example, if it were no longer possible to renew the passport there, and so on and so forth. So it simply offers you more flexibility in times of crisis. You also have business opportunities in new markets. Some of the second passports we offer, and also there, by the way, Sierra Leone, uniquely in my view, that the second passport can give you access to markets or areas with huge business opportunities, investment opportunities, where you might be more limited with just the German passport than you might be with the passport, allowing you to position yourself differently in a certain region. And you naturally have tax optimization opportunities. These are the main advantages of a second passport. And as I said, very, very important. For some, a second passport might be interesting to expand with additional golden visa permanent residence permits from other countries that are strategically important for you. Yes, and then if you are now looking for the Plan B passport that suits you, there are crucial factors that can help you build a decision matrix. That's how I personally did it when making my choice. And of course, the price is usually interesting. You might first look at what it actually costs. What kind of investment is it? Is it a donation? What is the money used for? Or can you buy a property with it? That is often associated with great risks because, for example, real estate investments on a Caribbean island have hurricane risks. I myself have had to suffer from it. So, for example, I made a real estate investment on a Caribbean island and it was simply gone after 5 years because a hurricane swept over it and it wasn't insured and basically everything was gone. Well, something like that can, of course, happen. You have to consider whether it is really that much safer than, say, through a donation or a back payment, like in Sierra Leone now, in principle, where you just say, I pay symbolically for 10 years, for the last 10 years, in which I didn't live there, but actually should have. To be naturalized, normally I make a kind of tax back payment to the state budget. What one might have earned from me there in 10 years, and then one is naturalized normally. So we have now said price is very important, the type of investment, and the most important thing we always find in consultations is actually who can be included in the program. And if you now say, okay, I am alone anyway, I don't have a spouse, I want the passport just for myself, you would be quite surprised. You should definitely stay tuned because Sierra Leone offers something here that is completely unique, which no other passport program offers. So even for someone who says, I have no family, there's a way to make the costs extremely interesting through, let's say, a life hack. Definitely stay tuned until I get to the prices. But in general, it's about how you can set up your decision matrix. So as I said, price and type of investment are important. Who can be included? Children. Up to what age? Until 18, until 30, or children of any age? What about the parents? Do I want to include my parents? Include the spouse's parents? Do I want to include brother, sister? Maybe in the end, does my brother, my sister want to bring their spouse? Or is there anyone in my entire family package who might not be married, has, so to speak, a life partner with whom they are not yet, let's say, married or has children with that person? And simply says, well, I would never emigrate if I couldn't include my life partner whom I'm not yet married to, or maybe my life partner's child. I have a life partner and they have a child and but it's not my child, whatever. So these are such crazy constellations that keep occurring. And for some, it's then the decision to say, so what's the point if only I can go?
and only part of our family can use the passport, then we have to find another solution. And you will see Sierra Leone is unique here, what you can do, how you can integrate important people for you into the program. Then the third feature from my perspective is the processing time until the passport. We currently have many countries where the processing time is well over a year, sometimes even over 1.5 years. And who knows what will happen in 1.5 years. I need my freedom document now and not in 1.5 years. Maybe due to the huge demand, the processing time could even increase further. That's why it's a very, very important criterion. The freedom to travel that the passport offers is important for some. That means for someone to whom, for example, Singapore is important, China is important, or perhaps with another passport, not the German one, to be able to enter and exit Russia because they might have family there or because they might still want to do business there. Well, then one would naturally say, I have to look for a passport, or I would like to look for a passport that already provides that for me. As mentioned, as long as you keep the German passport, and we generally never advise in consultations to give up German citizenship because you can cleverly incorporate the second passport into your Plan B concept, so it doesn't matter to keep the German citizenship in parallel. We are happy to explain this to you in an individual consultation. Well, the German passport already offers the best freedom of travel you can imagine. Therefore, the second passport doesn't have to be as good or similarly good as the German passport if you want to keep it anyway. The second passport should allow you, in principle, to enter one or more countries not just as a tourist for 30, 60, or 90 days, but to stay indefinitely at your place of refuge. And a German passport cannot do that. And if you say the Caribbean passports, they have Schengen access, but only for 90 days. And then you're out of the Schengen area again. So what does that bring? This is often a common misconception. And here we will soon see the Sierra Leone passport offer something quite special, in my view, for travel freedom or for the future perspective of a Plan B. Generally, for some, the country itself is, of course, interesting. What does the country from which I have the passport offer? Does it bring me any benefits? Are there perhaps interesting banks? Are there perhaps interesting things you can buy, import, export, maybe do business and so on and so forth? Or is it a beautiful travel destination where there might be white beaches and so on and so forth, or where you can buy or build real estate cheaply? So there are many, many questions. And perhaps, of course, the question of how the country will be in 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 years, especially since one might want to pass on the citizenship acquired to the family, to the children and grandchildren, and perhaps in the future identify with another country just as well as with one's birth country. Feel free to write in the comments which of the points I have mentioned so far is actually the most important to you. I would be very interested. So, as I said, is it the price? Is it the way the money you invest is used, or who can be included? How quickly you get the passport? The future prospects of the country, or the possibilities for long-term residence in another region? Yes, let's now move on to the Sierra Leone fast-track naturalization program. The facts. And what I'm going to show you now might change your opinion in general about African passports. The Sierra Leone passport is an African passport, one of 3 passports in Africa that we offer, but it might change your opinion about the value of African passports in general. First, the facts about the program, the pricing conditions, and who can be included and what is unique about it. So Sierra Leone offers a fast-track naturalization. Naturalization is actually the acquisition of a passport that is realized through long-term residence in the country. So, for example, I am in Greece for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, and then after 6 years I can apply for the passport in many countries after 8 years or after 10 years, and in very few countries also after 2, 3, 4 years. So, and fast-track naturalization simply means you can actually settle your 10-year residency requirement by depositing into a state account. And I'm not talking about golden visa through gold purchase. That's a completely different program that Sierra Leone also offers. It's often confused. With the gold, a visa program in Sierra Leone, you buy 1 or 2 kilograms of LBME certified gold, and then pay a program fee into the government account. $65,000. Currently, the rate is relatively favorable. And your gold, it belongs to you, but it must be stored in the safe at the National Bank for 5 years. You can go and stroke it, you can go and visit it, but in principle, you are not allowed to move it from the National Bank. After 5 years, it is then yours. You can place it elsewhere, take it to another country, sell it again, whatever you want. The program also has no tax consequences, and you can upgrade the Golden Visa in Sierra Leone to full citizenship at any time within 1 month. And now let's talk about that. Fast track citizenship means that, as mentioned, you can skip the required 10 years in the country and be directly naturalized. And instead of bringing the state approximately 110,000 euros in tax revenue over 10 years of residence, you pay a one-time sum and receive the passport for citizenship directly. The price concept is transparent in Sierra Leone, understandable, affordable, and offers, well, I would say, special conditions of its own, which we will discuss shortly. The main applicant pays $140,000. That is currently approximately 120,000 euros, and for each additional person, $10,000, approximately 8,500 euros, depending on when you watch the video. We have to see how the dollar-euro exchange rate develops. You can calculate it yourself. And that's new. You get a pre-established company and a bank account in Sierra Leone with it. And above all, it's also very important in Plan B to perhaps generate a tax residence and also to have a bank account, a US dollar account or a euro account. And I had already reported some facts briefly in some videos. African banks are, for the most part, much, much better positioned than European banks. There are also unique additional options that are not available with almost all other second passports. One example is that you can include a real name change. A real name change means that you can execute a so-called deed poll under English law there. You can take care of that directly with the application and then officially change your name, and then the passport will be issued with a different adjusted name. We do not recommend a total name change. I can gladly link you to a video about that, or you can download my ebook on passport comparison where I also covered this. But maybe a name adjustment towards anglicization, like from where it could become Mark, from Stefan, maybe Steve or something like that. So you can adjust your name. You can, of course, completely change it. But the recommendation is maybe just to make small cosmetic changes. But it is possible and costs a one-time fee of $10,000, 8,500 euros currently. You can get a tax residency certificate, also 8,500 euros or 10,000 US dollars. And from our perspective, that's already a nice package. By the way, it's a real name change, not like with other passports that offer it, where it says underneath, formerly known as... So in the Sierra Leone passport, only your new name is listed if that's of interest. However, I must say most of our clients forgo this name change. Yes, and now comes the absolute highlight from my perspective. That is the flexibility of the program. So here, Sierra Leone is absolutely unique in my view. You can include up to 2 spouses in certain cases, for example, the first spouse before the divorce perhaps, and the current spouse. You can include any number of children, as well as the parents of both spouses. If your parents had perhaps married multiple times, you can also include all of them in the package, including former parents, for example. As mentioned, there are no age restrictions for the children, only the price is different. So children, for example, up to 18 would now cost 10,000 US dollars as 8,500 euros, and children who are older than 18, no problem. Up to 30, there's another price, and older than 30, also no problem. There's just a price adjustment. Brother, sister, or a partner you're not married to, all no problem in Sierra Leone. Children of your brother, children of your sister, your child's girlfriend, or your brother's child's whatever, so we can put all that together in a family package for you. And now comes the surprise effect. What else is possible?
You can even add a person who is very important to you to your application. Yes, you heard right. So you can include a person who is not related to you at all, but who is important for your life in your application for the Sierra Leone second passport with us. For example, the business partner, a good friend, or maybe someone who is very, very important to your daughter, your son, or someone else in your family. If they say only if they come along, then I would also go with you to our refuge with this second passport. This is only possible in Sierra Leone, and we find that quite brilliant. By the way, and this is the price hack at this point, we have said that the main applicant pays 41,000 US dollars for the initial application. And now, for example, he can indicate a person who is very, very important for himself or for the family package. So let's assume you would now apply for the passport for yourself and your business partner, or for yourself and your best friend. Then you would pay 41,000 US dollars as the primary applicant and 30,000 for the important person of your interest. That makes a total of 170,000 US dollars divided by 2. We are then at a price of 85,000 per person. And that's quite something, isn't it? That means, in principle, you get the lifelong second citizenship and the passport per person for 85,000. And we will soon talk about the advantages of the Sierra Leone second passport, which from my perspective are outstanding beyond this price concept. From my perspective, that's why it's the best passport program we can currently offer. We recently had a case of a married couple who plan to get married soon. And just because they said, okay, we want to get married soon, we have confirmed it in writing, have written a petition. They were able to apply for naturalization together. This flexibility, as I said, is unique and is the most flexible offer I know. But there are even more reasons why, in my view, Sierra Leone surpasses all other passports. The flexibility, in my opinion, is just the beginning. There are indeed more compelling arguments that put Sierra Leone at the top. For me, Sierra Leone surpasses all other passports here, even though we apply for Caribbean passports, Pacific passports, or other African passports for our clients every month. For example, one could apply for the Turkish passport, but what is important, it is the processing time. And that is important. So the processing time is the fastest I know. Count 3 months. That is the processing time until you have the passport in your hands. And we currently have clients who only need 5 weeks to get the passport. So just applied, and in October, they will receive a passport, for example. For comparison, Caribbean passports currently take 14 to 18 months. Examination procedures have been greatly expanded because the Caribbean states have been pressured by the EU and the USA, threatened with losing acceptance for visa-free access to the Schengen area. For example, the visa. Yes, and there is more that speaks in favor of the Sierra Leone passport from my perspective, and that is the always dreaded paperwork, right? I mean, who loves paperwork? And you just have to say, with the Sierra Leone passport, there's less paperwork than with all other second passports we know. So what do you need? You need a good scan of your passport with biodata. You need a good scan of the birth certificate. You need a PDF or a good scan of proof of address, like an electricity bill, phone bill, something like that, bank statement. You need a biometric photo. You need a very high resolution scanned signature because it will be added to the passport. And depending on the contract, well, there are 3 different payment methods for making your payment. For one of them, we still need a very simple proof of the source of funds. That is usually just a bank statement in your name, or a deposit statement, a crypto account deposit statement, something that shows it. You actually have the money in the account under your name and don't have to ask someone else to pay it for you. That's it. No police clearance certificate, no company documents, no medical report or any doctor you need to visit.
No reference letter or anything like that. No letter from the employer confirming that you work. So various other passports have crazy requirements that need to be met from time to time. All that is not necessary. An employee of our company is licensed as a notary for Sierra Leone and can even certify all your documents. There's simply an online call. You show your original documents to the camera. We then compare them, or the employee compares them with the electronic copies sent to us, and then ultimately through an online video call, your documents are certified and there are no extra costs for you. The only thing where you have to go to the notary again at the very end is you can also do it with an online notary. We recommend, I think, 140 euros for signature certification is then the oath on the Constitution. You have to take it shortly before your passport is issued. You will receive a document from the government and then actually take an oath on the Constitution that you would not speak badly about the state and in principle fulfill your civic duties at least as much as someone not living in the country has to. How can you pay the fee? As mentioned, you can do this by transferring to an account of the Hong Kong Visa Center. By the way, you can also transfer to the escrow lawyer in Sierra Leone, or you can even transfer the program fee to your own lawyer's account. We also find that unique. So Sierra Leone simply says, if someone is perhaps suspicious about where the money is going, just do it this way. Go to your own lawyer, to your own trusted notary. They will receive an escrow contract template for the program. They must sign it. That means he actually signs that he receives the money from you, manages it for you, and at the moment you are naturalized, he then forwards your money to the government account. Completely fair, completely transparent, and we also find it unique. Crypto, that's not a problem either. There is a crypto payment option and various cryptocurrencies are accepted. So if you want to pay for your second passport through crypto investments, or yes, ultimately the price, that's also possible. Maybe for some it still remains open, but it is Africa. Is Africa safe? Isn't it dangerous? We often hear that. So let me open your eyes to this, although I must say mine were only opened about 1.5 years ago because I already had a conflicted relationship with the continent of Africa. And that slowly changed for me step by step when we discovered Golden Visa or Zanzibar. Tanzania is a really great refuge that you can build for yourself. We also make a trip there every 3 or 4 months, and many prospective Ausland customers will move there in the next 1 or 2 years because they are invested or have invested during the last trips. But it's not a second passport. It's only, in quotes, a golden visa, which I still consider a very important element in a plan B. And for many, it's enough when designing a plan B. But I went to Africa with mixed feelings 1.5 years ago and wondered, can we really send clients there? Can we recommend clients to establish refuge there? And I really had to completely adjust and update my opinion, you could say, because when I first show you about Africa, or specifically the ECOWAS region, it might really surprise you. I don't necessarily want to say shock, but definitely surprise, because many have a completely wrong image. So for example, there's the size comparison of Africa versus the USA, Canada, or Russia, because what many people don't realize when you always look at the map, I have a map hanging behind me, by the way. There's also one in front of me, which you can't see here. But when you look at the maps, you get the impression that Russia is the largest country, or that the USA and Canada together are much larger than Africa. That is wrong. It's due to an error in representation. We'll show the correct size ratio here. In reality, Africa is larger than the United States and Canada combined, larger than Russia. Just as there are unsafe areas in the United States, there are also unsafe areas in South America and Africa. And there are also areas where there are still civil wars and where it is economically precarious, where people might also be starving. But Africa is a huge continent. So we will display the numbers here of the area of Africa, of Russia, and of America. So you can let the numbers speak for themselves, and a large part of Africa. Many countries in Africa are economically emerging, are stable, and have enormous opportunities for investment, offer a high quality of life. You can live healthily there, you have low living costs, and you are safe. So I took the liberty for fun, maybe also on the topic of security, because many don't want to live in a crisis area where you might somehow get drawn into a war. We have some clients who live, for example, in Cyprus. They called me when there was the 12-day war between Iran and Israel and said, "Hey, Daniel, I'm sitting here on my terrace. I see the rockets hitting Tel Aviv, and we don't feel safe here because on our island, meaning Cyprus in this case, we have Abi Fakis, we have the largest NATO base of the English. So Kri as it no idea. Maybe it will get dragged into a war and then some long-range missiles might land here. So the question is simply, if you are already choosing a Plan B refuge, don't you want to be as far away as possible from any war danger? And Africa is totally interesting. So many African countries are in the same time zone as Germany. For example, Tanzania, in this case, Zanzibar, where we often go, where some of our clients already have their golden visa. You are in the same time zone as many European countries, for example, in the time zone of Athens, for instance, 1 hour minus Berlin time, for example. That is extremely pleasant. So it's quite different from going to South America to build a refuge there when you are in the same time zone and can maintain business or contact with family from your refuge without any problems. So it's definitely very, very interesting. And what many also do not know is that Africa is truly the continent of the future. The largest smart cities in the world will not be in Asia after 2050, but all in Africa. This is called leapfrogging. Maybe you've heard the word before. So Africa is skipping entire stages of development, just like in banking for us. Yes, we initially had the classic bank branch network. After the classic bank branch network, then came internet banking, then came banking with apps on the phone. And in countries like Africa, all these development stages are skipped. That means in many African countries, they go directly to mobile banking. That means your SIM card, your phone is like the bank. That means various development stages are skipped there. The same applies to urbanization. That is city development. These stages, which usually take several decades, are skipped, and 1, 2, or 3 stages are taken, and directly smart cities are built, directly creating very modern city concepts. From the outset, the street planning is done in such a way that it might still be suitable for the development of the population there in 1500 years. If you look at the stagnation, for example, in population growth or economically in the old world, you have growth of 6 to 8% in most African countries or on the African continent, for example. So many African economies are growing 6 to 8% per year. For example, countries like Rwanda have better internet coverage than Germany, or in Kenya, more people pay with their mobile phones than in the United States. As mentioned, the ECOWAS region, to which Sierra Leone belongs, plays a very special role because it is an economic giant that hardly anyone had on their radar. I had never heard of ECOWAS, this economic alliance, before. And ECOWAS represents one of the largest economies in Africa. For the year 2025, a total gross domestic product of $2,704 billion US dollars in purchasing power parity, or a nominal GDP of $573.2 billion US dollars is forecasted. So I find it interesting and also fair that it is converted according to purchasing power, because you can't just say, okay, if there's a country where electricity costs only a tenth or a fifth, you can't compare the earnings or the money generated with another country, as mentioned, where the costs are much, much higher. That's why there is the option to calculate gross domestic products based on purchasing power parity. And this is carried out and recommended by many economic think tanks. So it's really interesting. And now there's a huge and rapidly growing population of over 400 million people living in ECOWAS, and it keeps increasing. And then, of course, we have untapped resources in this region. For example, the numbers are incredible when you look into it. Gold mines, mining operations that are conducted there. For instance, ECOWAS has 525.55 tons of gold, which is 52.3% of Africa, just in this region. And recently, a client called me, Masa really wants to join our VIP delegation trip to Sierra Leone. That might be quite interesting. We should perhaps include the link. So we organize a delegation trip to Sierra Leone twice a year. There you can meet presidents, vice presidents, many government advisors, and business leaders. By the way, we still have 2 or 3 spots if you want to sign up and join the next VIP delegation trip. Very, very interesting. Even if you might not want a passport from Sierra Leone, it might be interesting for you. In any case, a client called me, says, I absolutely want to come along, and shows me photos on his phone of his business partner who has his own small gold mine there in Sierra Leone, and photographs his gold, which he extracts from the ground, you know. So it was very, very surprising for me. I was personally excited. Then the gold production. Ghana alone, which is also part of the ECOWAS alliance, 35 tons. That corresponds to 14 to 15% of the global gold production, and gold is just the beginning. Leone, so the entire ECOWAS region, still sits on other deposits. For example, Sierra Leone is famous for diamonds, iron ore, bauxite, oil, gas, rare earths. So we have all that there. In the ECOWAS countries, and especially or specifically ECOWAS, but generally in Africa, there are also incredibly large construction sites and investment projects by the BRICS countries, such as highways, power plants, airports. The ECOWAS region, for example, is currently investing billions in the future. So there's a master plan, and there are 201 regional projects in transport, energy, telecommunications, water, and the implementation is already largely underway. Then 1,028 kilometers of coastal highway will be built through through some ECOWAS countries that have coastal areas. And this is supposed to become a backbone of the West African economy. There is, for example, a $700 million power transmission project that is supposed to connect Benin, Burkina Faso, Niger, Nigeria, and Togo. And it is expected to be completed by 2026. And there are many, many specific additional projects, for example, gas power plants and various other projects, solar power stations. Huge courses are being built, I was told, or bridge connection, for example, from the airport to Freetown in Sierra Leone. Freetown is the place where we will also have our conference hotel if you join us on our VIP delegation trip. So a beautiful area. I just wanted to mention that again, and maybe generally on the topic of ECOWAS. I think I forgot to emphasize this at the beginning. You get a Sierra Leone passport, but with this passport, you can enter all 12 countries of the ECOWAS alliance, not only as a tourist, but also stay as long as you want. In some countries, the Sierra Leone passport directly serves as a residence document. That means it is essentially your ID card there, and in other countries you have to apply for the local ID card for a fee. We have a table ranging from $65 to $300 and something. But it is similar to the Schengen area. That means if you have the Sierra Leone passport, you have not just a refuge, a retreat in one country for your investments, but in an incredibly interesting region across 12 countries. And you can buy land in 12 countries, rent an apartment, open bank accounts, start companies, and simply stay as long as you want. So, in a crisis situation, you choose the safest, most cost-effective, and most accessible country for you and can stay there. Or you can travel from country to country. And that is a huge advantage compared to other passports that you can also get on the internet. Let's take, for example, the passport from Nauru. So Nauru is as big as Frankfurt Airport. Or the passport from Vanuatu. So Vanuatu is as big as or smaller than the federal state of Thuringia. or there is another African passport that we also offer, but it is as large as the city of Berlin. So, and if that were your only retreat, then you would have to be in such a region in the worst case. If you are only allowed to be there with major travel restrictions, it would really limit you. That I think is very, very important. One should know. So once again, for the price comparison, if we let this sink in with the information we've exchanged, then in the classic price, let's just say 2 parents, 2 children up to 18, you would have 140,000, 150,000 per parent. And child 1, 160, child 2, 170,000 US dollars, around 150,000 euros. That must be approximately now. And there's really only one pass that's cheaper, but none that offers everything I've just mentioned to you. And as I said, when you consider who you can bring along, former partners, not yet spouses, and even an important person for you, brother, sister, children of brother and sister, spouses, and so on and so forth, of your own children. So that is really very, very interesting. And yes, maybe you could write me your opinion at this point about everything you've just heard. What do you like best about all of this? Or what do you perhaps see more critically about what we've said so far about the Sierra Leone Pass? At the beginning, I made promises, even though the topic of this video was supposed to be only the Sierra Leone passport. I thought there are passports that might still be a better decision for some interested parties. And when could that be? So I can't cover all the passports in this video. We might need to have a consultation, or you could join us on one of our trips, maybe to Sierra Leone or Zanzibar. There we have plenty of time during 3 or 4 workshop days. There are many opportunities for consultations on the side. And but no, I'll focus on 2 passports. Let's take Vanuatu. So if, for example, it is important for you to travel to and from Russia without hindrance with a passport other than the German one, because you might have family or business ties, in my view, the Vanuatu passport is ideal as it allows visa-free entry to Russia. That's why we call the Vanuatu passport in our professional circles internally the Russia passport. However, I must say living there would be less interesting for me. As mentioned, Vanuatu is smaller than the German state of Thuringia and is a risk area for cyclones and earthquakes. So from my perspective, not a country where I really want to live, but as a travel freedom document for business cases, it's definitely very, very interesting. As I said, entering there without paperwork. And what about Caribbean passports? Well, of course, the Caribbean passports currently still have Schengen access, but as I said, you already have Schengen access with your German passport. And if you're considering giving up the German passport, what use is the Schengen access from the other passports in the end? Because you can only stay in Germany for 90 days, then you have to leave after 90 days and are not allowed to come back immediately, enter another Schengen country. You can watch my video about the system that will be introduced starting October this year. So that won't work even with Trick 17 in the future. That means you would have to add a golden visa for the entire Schengen area to the Caribbean passport, just like with the Vanuatu Nauru passport or the Sierra Leone passport. We can help you with that. And then it's just as good, right? Then you can actually take any passport. You can take the cheapest passport and you can refine it. But still, there is a reason. We have some clients who take the Caribbean passport and are happy with it. And I also advise them and say, this is your passport. You must take this passport, whether it's Antigua and Barbuda, whether it's Grenada, for example. If you're a fan of the Caribbean, if you already spend a lot of time in the Caribbean, if you're a sailor to say, I love sailing that, that's my region. Maybe I also love a certain closeness to the USA, meaning I can well imagine living in the Caribbean and then maybe having a second residence in Florida, for example, having relatives in the USA, maybe a child studying in the USA. Then there's no question. Then the Caribbean passport is naturally the absolute first choice for you, but not the Schengen visa, because the likelihood is relatively high that the Caribbean passports will lose Schengen access in the future. There is so much pressure being put on the Caribbean countries at the moment. That means either the prices will go up again, or for example, it's being considered now. Dominica is probably the first Caribbean country to start introducing a residency requirement. That means you lose your passport if you don't stay in your residence or new citizenship country for a certain minimum number of years. For example, in Dominica, 30 days within 5 years is being discussed. So it's a shame if you lose the investment because you forget, or at the end of the 5 years, there are travel restrictions again, another pandemic or other crises, and you can't manage to enter, and then you might lose the citizenship. So that would be too uncertain for me. But if you want to live there anyway, you like the region, great passport, and of course, we are happy to help you get it. My conclusion once again, and also the process, how do you get the passport now? So Sierra Leone, as I said, is my first choice for the CBI program. If you don't have such specific needs, like I need to go to Russia, or I am a sailor and need the Caribbean, need proximity to the USA, the combination of price, flexibility, speed, meaning you have the passport in 2 months plus, sometimes even faster, so 2 months more or less you have it, you have the passport in hand, the security and future prospects. From my point of view, it's unbeatable. By the way, the passport also has no negative connotations. I had earlier talked about the size of Africa, about the economic opportunities, about the natural resources that exist in a country, that you also get a company, get a bank account. These immense investments that currently make dresses down there. So railway lines, airports, new ports are being built, and so on. So there's a lot going on in these countries. If in the future someone says, I have the Sierra Leone passport for myself or my children because we see the future there, it has less of a stigma than if you have to tell someone, I have a passport from, for example, like I said, an island that is as big as the area of Frankfurt Airport. And you wonder, why did you do that? Why did you spend money on it? Are you perhaps a conspiracy theorist? So with the Sierra Leone passport, you might be on the better, safer side. Yes, what else can we say? So to summarize again, what matters when you make your decision? As mentioned, type of cost or investment, who can be included, processing time until the passport, travel freedom, which offers you the ECOWAS access. I can live in 12 countries. We already mentioned future prospects. So if that is also significant for you, and if you can follow the accumulation, but still maybe have questions, I would be happy to see you in a consultation. Otherwise, just write to the email address displayed here or request the ebook about the Sierra Leone passport that we offer, or get a specific price quote right away. So just write to the displayed email. It will reach my colleague, Jasmine. Jasmine is your dedicated contact person for this passport, processes the applications from A to Z, and is happy to answer questions via email or phone. If they are very complicated, then I have no idea in the consultation. That is free and non-binding. And just after sending the birth dates and first names of your family, so basically first name, birth date, and relationship, like who that is, you send the list to Jasmine, and then you will receive my specific price offer. You will also get the document list and the form for the preliminary check. We will fill out the form for you, but we'll still send it to you so you can see what the form looks like. Basically, you send all your documents. I mentioned it earlier, so basically passport, birth certificate, proof of address. That's really the most important thing we need. Then Jasmine will fill out the form for you, calculate what you would need to pay, send you the escrow contract, and then you say, okay, whether you want to transfer to your own lawyer, the trusted lawyer in Sierra Leone, the Hong Kong visa sender, or via crypto. And then you receive a corresponding contract. You can sign it, basically pay your fee into the escrow account, and then your naturalization process is initiated. The passport is printed. The money is transferred once it is printed. And you will receive it via DHL, or I will personally hand it over to you. We are happy to do that if the opportunity arises. Yes, that's perhaps all on that point. As mentioned, here is the link to the VIP trip if you would like to get to know the country personally. By the way, we have a special offer. However, only until the end of this year. That means if you still have questions and book a consultation for the second passport, we will display the link. I pay with a barcode at this point. You get the consultation regardless of which second passport you would decide on later. You get the costs of the consultation are reimbursed if you start any of these passport programs with us within 6 months. In that respect, I was glad that you stayed loyal until the end here. And I think the passport might not remain so affordable and flexible forever. When more and more people find out about it, or if the conditions have to be tightened, perhaps due to pressure from the USA or the EU, as has already happened with other countries, as we've seen with other programs, now is a good moment for you to perhaps take action. I would be happy to meet you personally at one of our workshops, get to know you in a consultation, or you go directly into the application process with Jasmine, or there are 2 more special features. So we offer that you can put yourself on the waiting list for a webinar that will be conducted in 2 months. There is a masterclass in Athens. You can already register for it now. So 2 days just on the topic of citizenships and golden visas. Exactly. And there is a video seminar. So 3 things are in preparation. Feel free to sign up here. Then you will be informed as soon as it goes live, as soon as tickets can be booked. Yes. So feel free to write in the comments if you also see it like I do, that at the moment the Sierra Leone passport is, in my view, the most interesting second passport offer available. And the question is, are you also among the first to take the opportunity? Will you be prepared, or will you wait until it's too late? I would be happy if my video today helped you to take action, or at least perhaps to inform yourself further. Or maybe you say, no, I'll go for the golden visa. I'd rather build a refuge in another country. Then maybe we'll see each other in Zanzibar or in Georgia or in Serbia, wherever. You can see on our website where we are everywhere. Otherwise, I wish you to stay cheerful, stay brave, and think of the value of small steps. See you soon.
Are you worried that your freedom to travel might suddenly be restricted again in the event of tension or a crisis? Do you wonder if you or your children will stay in a country if conscription is introduced, or if you get drawn into a war and then find yourself stuck with your family in an emergency? Do you not want to be dependent on a single digital ID that restricts your financial freedom? A second citizenship, that is, a second passport, could provide you and your family with flexibility, security, and even open up entirely new opportunities and doors.
In our second passport masterclass, we show you what options are available, how to find the right solution for you, and how to start implementing it directly. You will learn all about the 4 ways to obtain a second citizenship, over 12 second passport programs worldwide, and how to optimally integrate your new second passport into your personal Plan B concept. Additionally, you will receive practical examples and strategies for asset protection, foreign accounts, and golden visas. The whole event takes place in a small, exclusive group. Not an anonymous online event, but real answers to your questions, networking with like-minded people, and the opportunity to start your application during the workshop.
Secure your ticket now for the second passport masterclass and bring your spouse, partner, or business partner for free. All information and tickets can be found at the link now displayed. Take the first step towards your Plan B today and secure freedom, mobility, and protection for you and your family. And if you don't want to wait for the masterclass but want to get started, then schedule your personal consultation right away.